Welcome back to another episode of Lost Codex Legends. My name is Jesse, and today we're talking about one character who's had the spotlight on him recently in Battle for Azeroth, that is. As a main character, he's kind of returned to the front lines, literally and narratively. Yes, I'm of course talking about Rokhan of the Darkspear, and today we're going to talk about our old Warcraft III buddy and all the things he did back then. And the very few things he's done since, and then everything he's done in Battle for Azeroth. So, without further ado, let's talk about Rokhan. We first meet Rokhan in Warcraft III on the Darkspear Islands, where Thrall accidentally shows up when he is fleeing Dalen Proudmoore's ships. They hit a big storm. I talked about that in the Thrall video. Just after they leave the Eastern Kingdoms, they arrive on this jungle isle called the Darkspear Isle, and there they fight against a Naga sea witch alongside the Darkspears, led by, of course, Sen'jin. They fight the sea witch, this Naga lady, and some Murlocs, and they fight Kultiris soldiers, and unfortunately Sen'jin dies, and his son Vol'jin takes over, and they join Thrall's Horde. That is where Rokhan joins the Horde. That is where Rokhan meets the Horde alongside Vol'jin. Thrall leads the Horde of both orcs and now trolls to Kalimdor, and Rokhan was present for the battle on Mount Hyjal. He fought alongside, presumably, other Darkspears, other Shadowhunters, and of course Vol'jin. Rokhan gets the character spotlight in Warcraft III when Rexxar joins the story. As the other Darkspears had settled on the Echo Isles, including Vol'jin, Rokhan actually remained in Orgrimmar to serve as a scout for Thrall. Now, because of the recent human incursions, Rokhan began to worry for the rest of the Darkspears who lived on the Echo Isles just off the coast of Durotar. Fortunately, Thrall agreed and sent Rokhan to fetch Vol'jin and the others to get off the Isles and bring them onto the mainland for safety. As these hostile human incursions continued, Thrall began to grow suspicious. He had made a peace treaty with Jaina to prevent these from happening, and he wanted to get to the bottom of it. A peace summit was called, where Thrall was to meet with Jaina Proudmoore, but Rexxar sensed a trap and offered to go instead. Thrall was a little bit reluctant since he trusted Jaina, but he decided to let Rexxar and Rokhan go. And as Rexxar predicted, the peace summit was a trap, although it hadn't been planned by Jaina Proudmoore. These human emissaries were a little bit annoyed that Thrall himself had not come, but decided to attack Rexxar and friends, and Rokhan, Rexxar, and the others killed the emissaries and returned back to Thrall. Thrall knew that in order for this peace summit to actually happen, they would have to meet with Jaina in person, and sent Rokhan and Rexxar to Theramore, where they were to parley with Jaina in secrecy. With Jaina's help, Rokhan and friends learned why these humans were not honoring the peace treaty, and that's because they were led by Jaina's own father, Dalen Proudmoore, who sought to wipe the whole Horde, all of the Horde, orcs and now trolls, Tauren, everyone, off the face of Azeroth, and specifically off the face of Kalimdor. Rokhan's story continues as he fights alongside Rexxar and friends throughout the Barrens as they enlist allies in preparation for the inevitable attack involving Dalen Proudmoore's forces, and it's at Tidefury Cove where a massive battle between the human and orc forces erupt, and the Horde is victorious, chasing the humans back to Theramore. This particular story comes to an end with the siege of Theramore, and Rokhan helps lead the raid at Theramore when him, Rexxar, and friends are led into the city, and there they battle against Dalen's elite naval forces. Rokhan makes a very brief appearance in the Cycle of Hatred novel, as he still serves as one of Thrall's scouts, one of Thrall's finest scouts. In the novel, he suddenly appears to bring news to Thrall about reinforcements who have arrived at Northwatch Hold, along the border of both human and orc territory. In the novel, he's described as having a surprisingly gentle face for a troll, with extremely kind eyes. Surprisingly, Rokhan doesn't get added to World of Warcraft until Wrath of the Lich King. You can find Rokhan in Dragonblight in a small camp where he and some other dragon hunters are fighting frostworms. There, you the player can help Rokhan and his dragon hunters bring down a frostworm known as Sarathstra. A frostworm in Dragonblight, and you help kill it. In the Stormrage novel, Rokhan is returned to Durotar, where he's forced to lead a band of his people trapped outside Orgrimmar during the war against the Nightmare. Rokhan is actually contacted by Malfurion Stormrage to do battle against the Nightmare Lord, but Rokhan is unable to help as he is more concerned for the safety and well-being of his own people. Rokhan was among those who helped stop the Iron March in the Blasted Lands. He sends Horde players to go kill Iron Horde executioners and free their prisoners. And later on during the Draenor campaign, Rokhan can be found in your garrison, if you're Horde, where he oversees several actions and events throughout the continent. He's also present for several story moments, including the moment when Azuka Blade Fury dies in Talador. He can be found all over the map on Draenor. He's found in Gorgrond, where he helps the Horde maneuver around the Botany. He's found in Shadowmoon Valley, where he's concerned about the Shadowmoon's clan's proximity to certain choke points. And of course, he's concerned about certain scouts that are missing inside the Spires of Iraq. In short, he's doing a lot of scouting all over the land, and a lot of overseeing and a lot of worrying about different threats on all different sides. Rokhan makes several brief appearances in Legion, when he appears in the Undercity when Sylvanas and the other leaders of the Horde are gathered to give you your prestige rank 2 artifact weapon appearance and all that. And when the Orgrimmar Embassy is built, he is apparently representing the Darkspear Tribe there. Of course, this is after Vol'jin is killed on the Broken Shore, so they're kind of without a leader. And during the speech when we are recruiting new allies on the Horde side, Sylvanas refers to everyone gathered as leaders of the Horde, and Rokhan is there representing the Darkspear. So, for the longest time, unofficially, in the community, the fan base kind of saw Rokhan as the stand-in leader for the Darkspears, even though he was never referred to in-game or called outright as the Darkspear leader. He was present at every given moment, whether it was during the Legion, Undercity moment, or in the Embassy. He was there when Vol'jin couldn't be, when Vol'jin was not there. It's in Battle for Azeroth where Rokhan steps back into the spotlight that he very much deserves. First of all, at the launch of the expansion, Rokhan is there present with the Horde Strike team to free Princess Talanji and the Prophet Zul from the Stormwind Stockade. He of course encounters Saurfang there. Later on, after escaping the Alliance and getting back to Zandalar, he joins in on Talanji's expedition into Nazmir, where he participates in several fronts and several battles against the Blood Trolls. He's often either soon arriving with the player or scouting ahead in several cases, whether it was involved with the Tortolans or he shows up after Hyreek's killed, and when the Gob squad is captured, he sends the Horde players to go rescue them. Once the Horde player and Talanji have gathered all of the help they need, whether it's from the Loa or the Tortolan or whoever they can get help from in Nazmir, Rokhan and his Darkspears are present for the attack on the Blood Troll capital. Later on, when the Blood Trolls retaliate and attack the Bloodgate, Rokhan is present to defend, but after going behind enemy lines to lead his strike team into Nazmir, he's captured, but we, the Horde players, come in and save the day and rescue our good buddy, Rokhan, from the Blood Trolls. Later on in the Vol'jin Questline, we know that the Echo Isles are attacked by Zalazane, who was once a spirit. You could see him chained up in Bwonsamdi's pyramid inside his temple, but he apparently escapes Bwonsamdi and is now attacking the home of the Darkspear, looking for the ashes and the urn of Vol'jin. Rokhan returns to his home to aid in the defense, and Talanji accompanies him. Since he was present to help her on Zandalar, she now returns the favor and returns to the Echo Isles with Rokhan. During this time, they discover that Vol'jin's spirit was lost, and as such, Zalazane has returned in search of Vol'jin's urn and spirit as a lich. This deeply concerns Bwonsamdi, who then tasks Rokhan, Master Gadrin, and Talanji in performing a seance to find the lost warchief. Through this ritual, Vol'jin appears before Gadrin, Rokhan, and Talanji, and he appears not to tell them what happened to him, but rather that the Shadowlands is in turmoil. We learn that with the final seal destroyed by Mithrax in that iconic cinematic at the end of the Zandalar questline, G'huun's influence is spreading, and spirits of the trolls of both the past and present are crying out for action, for justice to be acted upon against this old blood god slug gross thing. And this leads to Talanji and the Horde adventurers going into Uldir, going into the Underrot to slay G'huun and stab Vol'jin's glaive into the body of the old blood god. And Rokhan is present when she presents and holds up Vol'jin's glaive to present to Zandalar that G'huun has fallen. So Rokhan's there. Pretty much wherever Talanji goes, Rokhan goes. Rokhan is also present during several war campaign assaults. He teams up with Rexxar to defend a fortress in Stormsong Valley. He also teams up with Gadrin and some other trolls in Dresvar to do that really cool voodoo ritual spell that Horde players get to turn into a bunch of masks to fight against the Alliance. In the story lead up to the battle for Dazar'alor, Rokhan has a heroic moment at the Bloodgate where he holds the line against the Alliance and their champions before he's ultimately imprisoned and taken capture. Here we later save him alongside Talanji, where we find he's being held prisoner by Blade Master Telamon, one of the Lightforge Draenei we meet on Argus. Telamon escapes and Rokhan rejoins up with the princess and with the Horde player. After being rescued and joining up with the Horde player, the two track down the Alliance leader, who is Blade Master Telamon, and corner him in Hyrike's lair, where they then fight and eventually kill the Lightforged Draenei. After the Blade Master is dead, Rokhan and the players regroup with Talanji to put an end to the Alliance incursion. Shortly later, after the Abyssal Scepter is destroyed, Rokhan and friends realize that this attack by Blade Master Telamon and his forces was all a ruse. It was bait to get Talanji and her forces and the majority of the Zandalari forces out of Zandalar so that the Alliance could attack via sea, via the harbor. Realizing the city is now exposed, Rokhan returns with the Horde player and Talanji and helps defend Zuldazar from the Alliance. Because Rokhan is present across Zandalar and in many questlines with Talanji, after, of course, Rastakhan is killed and Talanji is queen, Rokhan is the one who wants to bring the Zandalari into the Horde. Rokhan is present during Queen Talanji's coronation ceremony. Both Rokhan and the player are granted a special honor as her entourage and guide her to the Temple of the Loa. Later on in the story, after the resurrection of Derek Proudmoore, Rokhan takes place in the ritual at Bane's request to learn from Vol'jin why he appointed Sylvanas Windrunner as War Chief of the Horde. This is where Rokhan's doubts start to show. This is where Rokhan starts to question things a little bit. Later on in the story, after Bane is arrested and Zelling is killed, Rokhan notes that Sylvanas' actions are devastating, especially during this time of war, but they need to remain together against the Alliance. They need to stand together against the Alliance, and yet here she is throwing fuel on the fire. Rokhan, his doubts are definitely showing here, but he isn't just quite ready to be the leader of the rebellion just yet. Later on, after Saurfang's Mak'gora and Saurfang's death, he is present during the funeral with other Horde heroes. He reflects that he never had a good feeling about the war and simply tried to make the best of a bad situation. He admits to think he was wrong to think Sylvanas did what she did for the Horde, presumably in the very beginning, before the whole Derek Proudmoore situation, before the whole Vol'jin ritual. And he actually admits that he should have done more for Saurfang. He should have been there. He should have helped Saurfang. Saurfang was the face and the leader of this rebellion, and Rokhan admits that he didn't do enough. This is actually interesting because we don't actually see a lot of internal dialogue from characters all too often. We did get a lot of those personal little views after Zelling was killed, but we don't always get exposed to things like that, so it's interesting to see that Rokhan is admitting of his mistake. He is saying that I was wrong and I should have done more. A lot of people kind of want more of these internal dialogues or these internal thought bubbles, which is hard to have in a game without the character blatantly telling us, the hero, out loud. That's a little bit awkward. So it's cool to see, this whole time people might think, why is Rokhan okay with this? Why is Rokhan agreeing with Sylvanas or not helping Saurfang? And then later on we find out that he was wrong to trust Sylvanas and that he regrets not helping Saurfang. Is it the perfect situation? No. Rokhan clearly made a mistake, and that's what makes these living, breathing characters that much more interactable, that much more interesting, is they make mistakes. They make there are lapses in judgment, and we see that with Rokhan here in a little bit of dialogue in the after the Sylvanas Mak'gora. This last little bit is from the Visions of N'Zoth patch, so if you don't want to be spoiled in terms of some minor Horde storylines, some little interactions between two characters, definitely fast forward about a minute and a half or so. Pretty much, instead of selecting a new war chief, the Horde decides to go with a council-style leadership. Knowing that the Darkspear were already looking to Rokhan for leadership and guidance, the leaders of the Horde approach him to lead his people officially for this council, and surprisingly, Rokhan is uncertain. Bane is able to actually convince him, saying that the Darkspear had faith in them. Clearly, they looked up to him. And it's clear we, the Horde player, can see that on Zandalar. He's pretty much at Talanji's side the entire time. No one took her blood troll threat seriously, and Nazmir, her own father, didn't believe her, yet he was there fighting alongside her, fighting alongside the Loa against the blood trolls, against the Alliance. He was there for her coronation. So clearly he's been acting already as a leader, but now when faced with the official idea of becoming that role, he has his doubts. Eventually he recognizes Bane's words as true, and he takes his place not only on the council, but as the official new chieftain of the Darkspear Tribe. So Rokhan's new, not only does he get a new title, but he also has a new look. As of our coronation ceremony, we see him sporting the Antorus gear there, some sweet new troll armor, and now he's got a new official fancy title to match his new fancy gear. So congratulations, Rokhan, you are now leader of the Darkspear, and we still don't know where Vol'jin is, but that's alright, we'll figure that out sometime, but not today. We're celebrating you, buddy. And that's all we got with Rokhan. Rokhan is one of those iconic characters from Warcraft 3, as I've mentioned several times. You know, same like Rexxar and you know, the old Horde crew, right? Thrall, Vol'jin, Cairn, two of those names are gone. But, you know, Rexxar's still around, and Rokhan, you know, he didn't really do anything over the years, aside from major story plot points, so it was really, really cool to see him appear in Battle for Azeroth in an official capacity, not just an occasional quest giver. He's there on the battlefield in Arathi, he's there at official ceremonies, he's there in these grand scale attacks against the Alliance. Really cool to see, especially since, you know, we've lost Vol'jin as a living main character. He's still around in spirit form. He's like that ghost character in a TV show. He's the actor still has a job, but we don't really know what's going on. But there's no real troll action going on, or at least Darkspear troll action going on. So it was cool to see him step up there in some official Darkspear capacity. As for the future of Rokhan, I really hope that we see more of him in the Shadowlands, especially being a Shadowhunter, and communing with the dead and communing with the low and communing with the spirits. I really want to see Rokhan lead the charge in terms of whatever Vol'jin storyline may be. Obviously, Vol'jin storyline is not finished. We still have a lot of questions we need answered. Don't worry, Vol'jin fans. We're getting to the bottom of this. We're gonna get you. We're gonna get some answers here, and I really hope Rokhan is the one to lead that. Bane's kind of been the one to lead this whole Vol'jin questline stuff, but I hope Rokhan is the one to do that in Shadowlands, especially get some answers for his people. Now he's official leader of the Darkspear. Now he is one of the leaders of the Horde, and I hope to see him sort of step up, not only in sort of an overseeing background kind of role, but literally on the front lines. I'd love for him to be one of the characters, especially as a Shadowhunter. I think Shadowhunters would be really cool to see in action more often. I'd like to see him join us in the Shadowlands and help get some answers on old Vol'jin there. So fingers crossed for some more Rokhan action coming to us in the storylines to come. Thank you guys for joining me for this episode of Lost Codex Legends featuring Rokhan, one of the old school characters from Warcraft 3. We'll see you later this week with another episode. Until then, see you later.